Hey folks, it's Autumn from the blog traditionallife.com, and this is a week in the life video. I will be bringing you along, highlighting one thing from every day of the week that we tackled. Everything from gardening to dehydrating, a whole bunch of herbs, even taking care of some of our farmyard creatures, and then of course we'll spend time in the kitchen preserving rhubarb and creating some delicious summer treats. Let's kick it off with doing chores Monday morning. One of the things I do first thing in the morning, if we have animals, is get the door. I like to feed them, go check them, even before I have my own breakfast. I don't know why I do it that way, being born and raised on a farm. Just kind of the thing you do. So last night I actually smelled a skunk. We had one wandering around, and I just want to make sure my birds are okay, that they have food, and that they have their water. Right now we have 27 little meat chicks we're raising, and so I want to just take a peek and top up any of the needs they might have. Good girl. Okay, they need water. Right now, I'm just hauling their water to them in a 5-gallon bucket. While it's filling, I like to admire. These are Johnny Jumps, actually from my husband's grandma's garden. She's a wonderful gardener. She passed away last summer. I got them to remember her by and put them in this bed with sage and peonies and foxglove. Hopefully they will naturalize and spread here. That would be amazing. I just haul the bucket back over so that I don't have to do it every day. We will fill their little waterer, and no, I don't mind putting baby girl down in here. The bedding is fresh as long as she's got something else to chew on. We will just get these birds in food and water, and with them being all good and set up, I'm actually going to tackle a second chore that I try to do so that my man doesn't have to tend to it. We're also going to go take some slops to pigs. So these actually are not our own piglets. We have some coming this weekend, actually. So these are the neighbors. They asked if they could run the pen on our property at the back, and we said yes, because it's just raw timber. But I want to go back, take the slop bucket to them, and check my man's bees. It was just yesterday that they swarmed, and so I just want to make sure we're not seeing any more signs of anything. I hope not, because then that means I'm going to have to deal with them, and I'm not good at dealing with mad bees. Right? Yeah. Baby girl loves the pigs, even more than the chicks. I don't know why. Well, there we go. Tuesday morning, we are going to be doing some work in my kitchen garden. This unique style of garden beds, they're called hugelkulturs. I have put them on the east side of our house, so they actually stay shaded. Shh. They actually stay shaded till later in the day, so it's perfect for things like spinach and lettuces and things that bolt in the heat. They grow a lot longer on this side. So I have started out here in one of the bare spots in this garden. I started some of my favorite lettuce, which is called a deer's tongue lettuce. And we've got this little bed behind me here that needs to be weeded and cleaned up. It actually needs to be mulched. So we're going to go dig up. First we're going to weed it, then I'll mulch it, and then I will transplant the little lettuces over here. So this garden bed has a twin right over here. So I'm going to put lettuces actually in both of these. But you can see I'm trying to get my perennials to spread in here so that there isn't a lot of need for mulch. But the garden bed is still very young. So we have bellflowers here. I threw down some rhubarb leaves to help with mulch. We've got peony, lilies, echinacea, walking onion, and I can't remember what this is. These beds, these weeds are very tiny. Maybe mulch would suppress them,
but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So mulch won't altogether eliminate all the weeds, especially when you're using a mulch like we do that breaks down and feeds the soil, but it will keep all those airborne seeds and all that type of thing. It will keep them from growing in your soil. So once this is mulched, I will have to pull out, maybe if there's a stubborn dandelion in there or some plantain, I will have to come through and pull out here and there. But for the most part, weeds are not going to be a problem. Here to plant, I part the straw, make a little circle. You can dig down and plop your little tiny fresh lettuces in place. Now, sometimes slugs do get them, but that's okay. We give them a good watering. We make sure they stay moist. And these lettuces will love these beds. So we're going to pop over, do the other one, do a quick weed around to make sure we've got the bulk of the weeds out. And then we do the same thing again. Put our straw on, really cover up that soil so that these plants will thrive. And we won't have to weed for the rest of the year. Putting in tiny little lettuces here as well. These are a black seeded Simpson lettuce, and hopefully they will last well into the summer in this cool location.
For today's video, which is Wednesday, we are going to be out in the berry patch doing some weeding. This is kind of one of those projects that I wish we had done right when we first started. We were in such a hurry to get things in, and we kept saying every year, well, next year we'll get weed barrier down in the rows, and next year we'll put mulch down. And it keeps not happening, so every year we have to do a heavy weeding 2 to 3 times a year. But this season, my man is getting at least a plastic barrier down in the walkways, but I still have a ton of weeding to do. So let's flip the camera around and let's do some weeding in the hot sun on this very beautiful Wednesday.
This patch looks horrendous, but we are very lucky. The soil is soft, and a lot of what grows in here is very bushy weeds. So it actually doesn't take as much work as you would think. We have dogbane, milk thistle, plantain, some dandelions, but fortunately there's not a lot of grass or weeds that are difficult to get out. It's very, very hot. Baby girl won't keep her hat on. I am sweating, so when we reached the end of this row, I decided it was time to take a little break until later when it cooled down.
We are back out after supper, and we are going to keep tackling the berry beds and hopefully get some tarp put down.
My man can get what they call here lumber tarps at our local builders, which is basically the wrapping that lumber comes in. This isn't a great long-term solution, but with things mostly weeded and these tarps put down, it will do in a pinch for the rest of this year, and it will really help hold all those nasty weeds down and hold them back.
Thursday morning, one of the things I want to get done today is to harvest some mint. One thing I didn't realize is that when you are growing herbs, and specifically perennial herbs that come back every spring, the second year, so the year after you plant them, they come up really early, and there are certain ones that you want to harvest before they develop flowers. Mint is a perfect example. It actually goes a bit bitter, so this is a perfect stage. We've actually had some bugs in there that have been eating the leaves. I don't know what they are, but the mint is still beautiful. It's ready to go, so we're going to harvest it and dry some of it outside in a, where is it in the camera? Right there. It's a sort of a solar dehydrator type of thing. So let's harvest a whole whack load of this. We will dry it for winter tea, and then in a couple days it will be finished and we can store it away in the pantry.
When you're harvesting mint, you only want to take the top 3 to 4 inches of the plants. Here I'm just using scissors to cut it away. This way the plant will reproduce and you will have the most aromatic, flavorful leaves for your tea.
Because all this mint had grasshoppers in it and spit bugs especially, I'm going to go ahead and spray it down. It's not what I would call a clean harvest. So we're going to wet it down and then we'll just go lay it out in the dehydrator trays to dry.
My man built me these huge screens that fit in our solar dehydrator, which actually is not hooked up with the glass portion right now. It's just a box where I will let the warmth of the air dry this mint slowly but surely. Spread it out on the screens. We've got about 4 of them here. And when they're full, we will open up the box and slide them on in. These will have to sit in here for about 4 days. And then if ever the stems are not quite done, I will throw my mostly dried mint into a big bowl and actually throw it in the car, close the windows, let it heat up, and that will ensure for sure that everything is completely dry.
I do love having herbs on hand, whether it's for tea or cooking or home remedies. But something I find is that the dehydrator, it just takes so long. It's not to run it, but just to load everything, all the little batches. So I find what I end up doing is I will either use that box for drying big bunches of herbs, or I will just hang dry them in my kitchen. I don't have time to stuff a little itty bitty dehydrator full of herbs, especially when you're doing a lot like this. It's just not going to happen for me. So this is the way I like to do it. You can do a lot in bulk really fast. I have a bunch of other tutorials on drying herbs and even making herb wreath. I will be sure to link those somewhere in this video. But right now I need to go in. It's time for my man to go to work. So I am on baby duty. It's Friday morning. I just put baby girl down for her morning nap, and I want to run out to the garden and harvest some of the tender young rhubarb out there. I really love having it on hand for pairing with other fruits throughout the winter for desserts, and even when the fresh strawberries come on, I love making strawberry rhubarb pie or strawberry rhubarb tarts. And the really young tender stuff is usually on in the spring. Our strawberries are not on yet. So we're gonna go get some, chop it up, pop it in the freezer, and then it will be there ready and waiting for me whenever I want it or anytime I need it.
It's actually very easy to harvest rhubarb. You just grab hold of the stalk and then pull to the side and not directly up, and it will pop loose from the crown. Very easy. And I like to cut off the leaves outside. They're so huge. To have them in the kitchen, I then just have to haul them out later. I like to do that right there in the garden. Once I have my stalks and bring them in, spraying them down is something I always do, partly because sometimes little slugs can get in at the base, so it's a good idea. Wash away the dirt and then you just chop them. About 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch slices. Fresh raw rhubarb, it can go straight into freezer bags, and I measure just so I know exactly how much is in a bag. About 2 cups is good for us and our family. Just like that, my rhubarb is ready to go in the freezer, and it will be ready for use in whatever type of baking I want to do.
Saturday morning, I am ready to get at it in the kitchen. I went on a walk with baby girl this morning. She screamed the whole 1/2 mile back past all the neighbors. Hello, good morning, neighbors. And today I'm going to a baby shower. This mama cannot eat sugar or like any sort of gluten, refined flour type stuff. So I am going to try to make something up for her that she can eat and enjoy while she's there. And I might not have time to video everything with it, but I'm going to show you some snippets anyway of what I'm whipping together. Maybe some inspiration for you if you also have friends with dietary restrictions. Okay, let's dive in and see if I can beat the clock and the baby who is now napping. Let's go.
First thing we are going to make is sort of a stuffed tomato dish. We cut cherry tomatoes in half, squeeze out the seeds and all of the insides, and basically you're left with little empty tomato shells. I then put cream cheese in a little bag, and we will squirt that into the tomato, dip it in some freshly cooked crumbled bacon. This is a really great gluten-free summer treat, and it's just tasty. Everybody loves these when you make them. They're time consuming, but they're worth it. Don't they look amazing? Second thing we're going to make is sort of a ham and cheese and asparagus roll up. So we spread a mixture of sour cream and cream cheese on Black Forest ham, and then we roll a roasted asparagus up in it. We will chop it into 3 pieces and make a great big giant tray of these that we can take. It's a healthy snack that anybody can eat and enjoy. These little tomatoes are actually stuffed with egg yolk, a dairy-free option for people, and then we have some pickled vegetables that we're going to bring. Just a little tray of garlic scapes, beets, and cucumber pickles. Sometimes in life, I find myself feeling discouraged because with health issues and now a baby girl, sometimes it feels like I just can't get anything done. But I am learning that when I focus on one thing at a time, I actually can still get stuff done in a day, whether it's taking care of farmyard creatures or taking care of the gardens. One step at a time, this entire kitchen garden got mulched and it now will be weed free for the summer, as well as our berry patch. With tarp down in the walkways, we will not have to weed these massive walkways again this year. I managed to dry half a gallon of mint that is now ready to go for winter, and we have the rhubarb in the freezer that we need for the year. I even managed to make some special treats for a special mama. One step at a time is how I get things done, and I'm just trying to remember that in this season of life.